R.I.P. GOP, the liberal media declaring the Republican Party dead after Donald Trump becomes the presumptive nominee this week. Check out this cover from the New York Daily News showing the symbolic elephant in a casket. And it's not just the media. Some Republicans actually burning their voter registration cards after the Donald's big night in Indiana. But do they have it all wrong? Hi, everyone. I'm Eric Bolling. Welcome to Cashing In. Our Cashing In crew this week, Jonathan Honig, Gina Loudon, Morgan Ortegas, and Juan Williams. Welcome, everybody. Gina, let's start with you. They say Trump killed the party, but are they forgetting that it was Donald Trump who drew the massive crowds, and it was Trump who broke records for votes earned, and he still has a month to go?
He does. And, Eric, I would ask the people that are burning their cards and so on and so forth, were they declaring the GOP dead when it was McCain who was the nominee, or Romney, or Dole? I mean, I think we need to get things in perspective. But having said that, my background's in psychology, Eric, and there's a couple of interesting psychological phenomena taking place. One is stages of grief. And I think Trump advocates need to be patient with the people, the Republicans especially, who are yet to come around. It takes some time to get through those stages of grief. But here's another interesting little factoid, and that is, you know, people don't have to like somebody to vote for them. If they believe a candidate is a strong leader who will protect their interests, foreign and domestic, Eric, they're most likely to support him in the end.
Yeah, and Juan, stages of grief, Gina talks about that. One of them is clearly anger, and they're still angry. I'm not talking about Democrats. I'm talking about the establishment Republicans. They're still mad that they didn't
I really
win.
appreciate that you didn't go right to the Democrats, because it's right. This is a fight among Republicans. It's a family fight, intramural, if you will. And what I think about what Gina was saying is that, you know, Gina, right now there are so many policy issues, and specifically, since this is cashing in, let's talk about trade, where Republicans have long been advocates of free trade. Donald Trump's not on that side of the fence. Donald Trump's not on the side, you say, defending families. He's not about having America be a strong military presence in the world. He wants to pull back from NATO, pull back from Asia in terms of nuclear protection. That's just anathema to party ideology.
Yeah, and let me bring Jonathan in here. But he's a businessman. He hasn't had the foreign policy experience. We knew that going in. America knew that going in. They're voting for a businessman who might change the way we do politics in the past. John.
Eric, he's a businessman, but he doesn't support capitalism. I mean, he supports tariffs. He supports redistributive taxes. And I think that's why a lot of people, you can call them the establishment if you want, let's just say voters, are wondering, what is this guy about? Is he going to support capitalism? Is he going to support a mixed economy? And it's
John,
why, you know,
let me push back a little bit on that. He doesn't support your brand of capitalism. He supports a brand of capitalism, and I think it may be different from yours, but still a brand nonetheless. He says he wants to renegotiate contracts. That may not be what you like, but it may be what other people
like. Well, let's just say, Eric, he doesn't support free market capitalism. And that's why, in fact, you know, searches for libertarianism have skyrocketed since Ted Cruz dropped out of the race. People think to themselves, more like, I'd rather have bad principles than no principles.
Well, whatever. You can call them bad or none, whatever you want to call them. But let me put this out there this way. The GOP, John McCain said he's not going to the convention. Mitt Romney said he's not going to the convention. Both Bushes said they're not going to the convention. Jeb Bush not going to the convention. Here's my question, though. 4 years ago, when Mitt Romney was running, you know, he's not my brand of Republican either, but I was out there pushing for Mitt Romney because he was a Republican. He wasn't going to be a Democrat, which I don't like even worse than the brand of Republicanism that I don't like also. Why can't you jump on that bandwagon, John?
Well, because Donald Trump, for me, Eric, is an anathema to my principles. I think that's what it's about. It's about principles. And Trump
Hillary's not. And Hillary's not.
Exhibits.
You're basically advocating for a Hillary Clinton presidency by saying I'm not going to join a Donald Trump presidency.
I think Trump actually, Eric, I think Trump is more dangerous because now we're seeing the deal-making get done.
More dangerous than Hillary Clinton, John?
Yes, and let me explain why. For Trump, anything's on the table. He'll deal. I mean, he's already hired lobbyists. He's not self-funding his campaign. I mean, that was a lie to begin with. He's gone back on tax plan.
John,
he's gone back on minimum wage.
So I'm talking about the next 4 or 8 years of a presidency.
Well,
we're
Eric,
going to have at least one
and
maybe up to 3 Supreme Court justices that are going to be appointed by a president. Would you rather have Hillary Clinton do that or Donald Trump?
I would rather have Hillary Clinton do that because Hillary Clinton doesn't put herself out, as you said, as a businessman, as a capitalist.
Who do you want for your next Supreme Court justice to be appointed by? Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump? Answer that question.
We can't afford Donald Trump to represent capitalism, Eric.
Is that
yes,
right?
I will be supporting Hillary. I've been
Morgan,
very forthright about that.
On this topic that's heated and dividing Republicans.
You know, it's interesting, with all due respect, I almost think this Republican-Democrat conversation is passé. I think that in this election, we have to look at an entirely new paradigm. For the past few decades, Americans, in every single poll they're asked, they're frustrated and they're sick of the two-party system. Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders have blown up that two-party system, and I think they may both make their parties weaker, so to speak, but I think that's actually good.
No-party system.
No, but I think that's actually good for America, because they have both blown up. Americans feel like, from both parties, it's a plague on everyone's houses. Both parties, you know, have establishment control in Washington. They're senators. They leave the Senate. They start going and lobbying. People are sick of it. So if both Trump and Sanders weaken their parties, I say maybe that's a good thing.
Let me roll a soundbite, Gina. I'll get you a response to it. Paul Ryan, when asked if he will support the GOP, presumptive GOP nominee, he said this.
I'm just not ready to do that at this point. I'm not there right now.
Now he's holding he's the highest elected GOP who says he can't support the GOP nominee for president. Where are we? How are we going to get this thing together? Gina.
Well, I'll tell you, I think that what Newt Gingrich said about this was point on, because he said, you know, this is irresponsible. As the leader of the party, he should really be supporting the party's nominee. And you have to consider, like you said, Eric, that more people have voted for Donald Trump in this primary than voted for Romney in the entire election. And so I think we really have to get a little bit of perspective here, but at the same time, give people a little bit of time to step back. Hopefully, Paul Ryan will come around. And by the way, I think Newt Gingrich would make a great Veep.
Go ahead. Juan, talked about Newt Gingrich, whether he's a good VP or not, but he did make the point. He didn't always like the policies of some of the presidents and people that he supported, but he still did it because he's a true blue GOP.
That's a false argument. I mean, when you think about Romney, when you think about McCain, you're talking about degrees of conservatism. These are people who came up in the Republican Party, who went through all kinds of Republican issues, tests on critical issues, and were Republicans. You knew they were Republicans. Nobody had to say, oh, I wonder that John McCain, is he a Republican? No, you knew. Mitt Romney, he's a Republican. He's a conservative. In this race, you don't know, and that's why people are up in arms. I think people have real legitimate questions. Paul Ryan is concerned about the future of the Republican Party. If down ballot he starts losing members in the House because you have Trump at the top of the ticket, he is no longer Speaker.
Go ahead, John.
And Eric, and I think that's the thing here. I mean, if looking long term, I think Hillary is a lot less dangerous to this country, because when Hillary's policies fail, they're going to blame socialism. They're going to blame the mixed economy. But when Trump's policies fail, they're going to blame, just as you led with, the businessmen, the capitalists. And then it's totally discredited, and there's nothing standing in the way of dictatorial rule in this country.
I don't know. I love the idea of trying something new. The country. Look, we've had 8 years of President Obama, who's basically told the world we don't need to be exceptional anymore in America. You know what Donald Trump brings to it? He said, no, that was wrong. We are America. We are exceptional. I'd like to try it, even if it means the businessman.
But what makes it? What are the ideas? I think that's the point. That's
what
the electorate wants to know. What are the ideas?
I'll tell you what it does do. What it does do is not telling the world that you're going to be on an even keel with them, and therefore you put yourself at a disadvantage with trade, with military. With Donald Trump, you don't know where he is on that, and I think that is a positive development. Let me give Morgan the last word on that.
I think we're talking a lot about the Republican Party, and one may or may not disagree with me here, but I think after this election, for both parties, the politics will never be the same again. I don't care if Hillary Clinton gets the nomination or not. For both parties, Trump and Sanders have indelibly changed politics in America, and I think, you know what, it's probably for a good thing.
It probably is, because you know what the Congress approval rating is going into these elections? About 8%. 8% approval. All right, leave it right there. Coming up.